Welcome back to our Learn How to Be a Jira Administrator in 5 days. This is day 2, and so make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and more importantly, if you missed out on day 1, go back to day 1 so you can catch up and then follow along as we continue our journey on day 2 of being a Jira Administrator. In today's video, we're going to be focusing on learning work types. Work types are the first building block. Everything else that we're going to do in days 3, 4, and 5 are going to be governed by the work type. So we're going to invest some time. Now that we've created our space in day 1, today we get to focus on work types. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and if you need any help with any of these things, check out that link down below. I have partnered up with my good friends over at Release Team. They have a team ready to help you out with your Jira problem. So if you need any help, make sure you use that link down below. Let them know that I sent you, and you'll thank me later. All right, let's jump into Jira. So to be able to do what we're about to start doing with work types, you do need to be a Jira administrator. And so you simply click on the gear on the top right corner. We're going to go to work items. And once we're there, we're going to be inside of work types. And we're going to stick around with the work type section here. We're going to cover all these items in detail. And I'm going to explain to you what all these things do and how we ultimately end up modifying, either adding or deleting new work types to our specific project. But first, what exactly is a work type and why you should care? Well, you as a Jira admin probably don't care, but your users of Jira definitely care. And so a work type is just a container. Think of these as little buckets, right? They're just different types of work, and they allow you to classify, categorize, bucketize all the different types of work that your team does. Now, Jira does ship with a set number of work types out of the box, and the popular ones, again, because Jira's kind of for agile project management, you're going to get epics, you're going to get user stories, they call them stories, you're going to get tasks, bugs, and subtasks. Those are the 5 out of the box ones. Now, as a Jira admin, we can configure by adding more, or we can remove some or hide some from the projects/spaces that our teams are using. Now, for the remainder of today, I'm going to show you how to add them, and I'm going to give you everything you need to know to be pretty effective with them. But at least now you know what a work type is. And so again, Jira ships with 5. There's some other ones, and as you use different templates, Jira is going to add more. And if you have some third-party plugins, they sometimes add work types as well. But now that we've gone to the gear, now that we've gone to work types, in order to add a work type, it's super, super easy. All you got to do is click on the Add Work Type button. You're going to give it a name. And so in this particular case, I'm going to call it, I don't know, what would be a great name? I usually call something silly like Apple, but I've already had an Apple one. And so this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an incident. Hopefully I don't have that one already. You can add a description, right? This is my description. And don't worry, nobody's ever going to see this. Other Jira admins can see it, but none of the users can ever see it. So don't worry about that. And then you're going to pick your work type scheme. Don't worry about any of this yet. Just leave the defaults. Now we are going to talk about this in just a few moments, but leave that alone. And then for your type, this is basically, are you going to pick a level 0, which is a standard work type, or a level -1, which is your subtask. Again, we'll cover this in a little bit more detail in just a few moments. But for now, 9 times out of 10, you're most likely going to create a level 0 work item. So click on add and give yourself a pat on the back because you've officially created your very first work item. Now, what I like to do soon after is I like to look it up. And so I'm going to look up my incident. And what I like to do is I like to come over to the actions on the right-hand side and edit. And when I do this, I like to come in and change my avatar, because if you don't, every single work type that you create is going to have the exact same icon or avatar. And it can get very confusing for your users very, very quickly if all of a sudden you have like 10 work types that all have the same icon. And so you have quite a few to choose from, and you can upload your own. So get a little creative and definitely add your own work type. I would also recommend not to essentially use the ones that are already used, like the epic icon. I wouldn't use it on another one. Like, this is for epics, leave that one alone. The task is for tasks, so leave that one alone. The story is for stories, so leave that one alone. Don't reuse the ones that are already used. Trust me, you'll thank me later. So I'm going to pick this one here for my avatar, and I'm going to click on update. So at this point, I've created a work item, and I've changed the icon because when you create a ton of work items, they're just going to have the same icon. It gets really confusing. So that's step 1. Step 2 is we now want to use that specific work item that we created. We want to use it in our space. And so how do we do that? Well, we actually have 2 paths to do this. I'm going to show you my preferred way. This is the way that I always do it. But keep in mind there's 2 ways, and I'm going to show you both ways in just a second. So what's my favorite way? Well, my favorite way is to go to a space. And so I'm going to go into this space here that I have. It's called All in Prep. And I'm going to click on the action button here. and I'm going to go to my space settings. Once here, I'm going to go to work items and I'm going to click on types. Now, once this screen loads, you're going to notice that something's missing, our incident. Well, duh, we're going to add it. And so that's what we're doing here. So we're going to click on actions. We're going to click on edit work types. And then we're going to see all of the available issue types. Again, Atlassian has been going through a transition. These are now called work types. I wish Atlassian would be very consistent with their UI, but they're not. Okay. And so if I ever say issue types, work types, they mean the exact same thing. And so we're going to go through our list of available work types and we're going to look for our incident. And usually it's towards the bottom. As you can see here, remember that problem I was telling you where if you don't change your icon, see how confusing it can get? Don't do that. So we're going to grab our incident, click and hold, drag to the left. You can let go once it's on the left-hand side and it'll append over here. Now, this is very important. This will show you the list of how it's going to be displayed when your users hits the create button. So if you want them in a specific order, move them in that order so that they show up in whatever order you want. And so in my particular case, I'm going to do it like this. Keep in mind that subtasks will never show up. Subtasks are a very special use case, which we're going to cover towards the tail end of the video. So make sure you hit that subscribe button now, but we're going to come back to it. So don't worry about that. All right. So once you're done, very, very important mistake that a lot of people make, go all the way down to the bottom and click that save button. Because if you don't hit that save button, these things won't get saved. So there you go. Our project now has all the work types that we need. And you can always add more by, again, going back to your actions, going to your work types. You can drag and drop from any of the available ones, or maybe if you don't want something, right? Like if you don't want to have a task, you just simply can get rid of it. Now, this works best when you have a new space, because if you do have existing work that is of that type task, Jira is going to complain and it's going to make you move them to one of the work types that are going to remain. And so it's just a whole hassle. So just be careful. It's easiest to add and remove when you're new, but later on in life, you might have to call up my good friends over at Release Team so that they can help you out. Because again, this stuff can get a little bit more complicated the longer you use Jira without knowing how to use Jira. So anyways, I'm going to click on cancel for now, but that's how you add, that's how you remove work types. Now let's go and talk about subtasks, because when I go and create a work type here, I have the ability to select either the standard or that level -1. And so subtasks actually have their own dedicated section. I actually prefer going to the subtasks over here, and then I like creating the subtask from over here. So creating a subtask works exactly the same way as creating a work type, except it's going to default automatically to be that level -1. So once you give it a name, right? So this can be subtask 2. Then you can, again, ignore the description because nobody's going to read it. And then you can ignore the word type because we're going to talk about that in just a second. You can click on add, and now that word type is going to be made available. And so you go through the same process that we just did of going through your project, going to the action menu, right, and adding your word type. However, if you are maybe wanting to do this in bulk, right? Maybe you're like, Alex, I don't want to add a subtask to 10 projects or to 100 projects and do the steps over and over and over and over and over and over. That can get very mildly annoying very, very quickly. Well, that's where word type schemes come into play. Now, earlier, spoilers in case you missed it, the word type scheme is actually what we were modifying just moments ago. I just didn't call it out, but that's okay because I was trying to keep the video kind of simple. But the word type schemes is another bucket. And so this bucket, this bigger bucket of work types, will contain all the individual word types inside. And what's great about this big bucket of word types is that we can then associate it to a space or modify the existing word type scheme that is already in a space, which is what we did in the first video here. So don't worry too much if this is kind of going over your head. I'll give you some examples here, and hopefully in the next couple of minutes, it all makes sense. And so we have this word type scheme. And what we want to do here is we want to find that project that we were working out of. And so here's our all-in prep. And in fact, if I click on the action button and I click on edit, you're going to see that we're going to be basically taken right back to the screen where we were earlier, where we were adding and removing things. So this is why I was telling you, we were working out of the word type scheme the whole time. The only difference is that Atlassian calls it an issue type scheme here, but it's the exact same thing. And again, I hope Atlassian would update their UI, but one can only hope. There's no telling when they're going to do it. So as you can see, it's the same thing, right? Now we just add items, right? So if I wanted to add my subtask number 2 that I just made, all you got to do is grab and drop it. And then maybe I want to add a risk, grab and drop it. And then that's it. Go to save. And now our word type scheme is now modified to contain those work items. And in fact, if I go down, you're going to see that all of them here under my AL : Scrum issue type scheme for my all-in prep is all good to go. Now this is where things get fun. I can actually click on associate, and this is going to bring me a list of projects. So if I want to say I built the perfect word type scheme that has all the word types, and now I want to scale this and put it on a lot of different projects, well, I can simply just start holding my control key and start calling out the projects that I want to have this particular word type scheme. And once I'm done, I can click associate, and guess what? Now all those word types are going to be inside of those projects / spaces. So again, if any of this is going way over your head, link below, talk to my good friends over at Release Team. They are seasoned veterans in all this, and they can definitely help you out. So in a nutshell, you are going to create a new word type. You're going to go to the space that you want to apply your new word type to. You're going to go to the space settings. You're going to go to work. You're going to go to types. You're going to hit that action menu button on the top right corner. You're going to edit, and then you're just going to simply drag and drop your new word types. Remove any of the word types you don't want, and that's it. That's all you got to know. Subtasks are going to behave very similar, and so you're either doing a task or a subtask. Now, to wrap this video up, we have the word type hierarchy. This is only available if you're on a premium or enterprise version of Jira, and this is way, way more complex than it needs to be, and definitely a little bit more harder. And essentially what you need to know here is that out of the box, Jira gives you 3 levels. You have an epic, then a story task bug, every level 0 work item, and then you have your level -1 below that. If you are on the premium enterprise versions of Jira, you can add levels above the epic. So you can go up as high as you want. I would recommend you don't do this alone. I would recommend, again, use that link, call my good friends over at Release Team, have them help you out, because this can get very complicated very, very quickly, but they're best trained and situated to be able to help you and guide you through all this journey. For now, all you need to know is how to add word types and how to add them to your space. And it's simple, as easy as 1, 2, 3. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like, call my friends at Release Team if you need any help with any of this. They are ready to help you out. It's a lot easier than you think, but just in case it's a little overwhelming, they are there to help you out and guide you through this whole process. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on day 3.